kind of like hit me right there where I was like, oh, this actually makes sense. You can buy a property, you can, rent it out, and then the money that's left over goes into your pocket. I saw how exhausted they looked. I saw how exhausted I was, and I felt like it's crazy because this is what you have to do to be able to survive and be able to buy a house and be able to, just live comfortably. I got my first deal in 2023, and ever since then, it was like a domino effect. In Suffolk, a lot of the people that I do see that come from the NYPD, they say the quality of life is a little bit better.
How much extra income is that yielding?
That is a ridiculous amount to the point where we were able to make that decision where my wife was officially able to leave the NYPD.
Welcome to the Purpose Over Pension podcast. I'm your host, Lenny Bradley, and today we have my man, Joelvi de la Cruz in the building. Joelvi, welcome to the podcast, man.
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you. And since the beginning, since I saw what you were doing, the title Purpose Over Pension, and the people that you were already, getting to meet, Joe, Amanda, all those other people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
All those people, I had to reach out. I was like, listen, I'm reaching out right away. Let's get connected.
Yeah, and I think this podcast session is a little different from others. Like, it's not going to be full of action and stories and stuff like that, even though you are a police officer. I'm sure we might be able to drum something up, but it's more focused on the investment side of things, the financial side of things. And I think that comes into play when dealing with purpose, because I feel the core reason why a lot of people may stay on a job that they're not comfortable with anymore is because of financial lockdown.
Oh yeah.
Instead of financial. I think that if most people had financial freedom and they felt like the job wasn't for them anymore, then they may go and pivot to something else or give them an option.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having that option to be able to decide whether to, once you hit that mark of that either 20-year mark, that 25-year mark that our, community of law enforcement usually has, but doesn't always take, that's great to having that option to be able to decide, listen, I'm going to stay up until that point, or, ride it out all the way to the end to get the full pension.
Heck yeah. Yeah, Exactly. I like it. I love it, man. Yeah, so I did, like I told you, I did a little bit of real estate, but I've pivoted, and but I still think it's a great avenue. But in any event, how did you get into policing? How did you get into real estate? Like, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So policing, it's funny enough because ever since I was a little kid, I either always wanted to be a police officer or play baseball. And I feel like that relates to a lot of young kids that I know. It's always, I want to play sports. And for me, if it wasn't that, my backup plan was policing. But growing up, I was very skinny. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to compete at a very high level. Once I got to college and played at that level, I knew that baseball wasn't going to be it. I wasn't going to make it. The most I ever got to was like Junco D3. So that's like the bottom.
Junco D3?
Junco D3.
What school was that?
That was up in Jamestown, New York. So Jamestown Community College.
There's a Jamestown, New York.
Jamestown, New York. It's like 2 hours south of Buffalo. So I went up there. I thought I was cool going away, which was, a lot of people's dream to go away, live on their own. And Junco D3, and I still wasn't like producing anything great. So at that point, I was like, all right, I know baseball is not for me.
Man, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Bronx. So I grew up in the Bronx. Well, I grew up in Harlem. So Harlem, and then right around the age of 10, 11 years old, my mom moved us to the Bronx. And from there, met a lot of great people that I'm still friends with today. And funny enough, my mom found the Explorers program in the 50th precinct, and I joined the Explorers program. And that's kind of what got me so into law enforcement, from joining the Explorers program and, learning a lot from them, doing a lot of cool things seeing police officers and, relating to them and wanting to grow up to be just like them. So,
Interesting. What part of Harlem did you grow up in?
and I don't know if it was Harlem, 143rd and Broadway. Is that like,
143 and Broadway.
was
I
that?
think it's like the border, like between the Heights.
Heights. So there, Heights, Harlem. I don't know. I don't know the difference. I don't keep up with like Harlem, Heights, West Harlem. I think it might have been like West Harlem.
Are you Dominican?
Dominican.
Yeah, so we'll just say the Heights.
The Heights.
We'll just say the Heights. Oh man,
I wish I would keep up with like this street. This street turns from like West Harlem or the Heights to like Harlem.
It gets confusing over there.
Confusing.
It does get confusing over there.
143rd and Broadway.
Oh yeah, a little taste of everything.
Absolutely,
taste of, both worlds there.
Oh yeah.
So as an explorer, okay, how long were you an explorer for? Where was it all the way up into the age of 18?
So no. So funny enough, I joined the Explorers and it was a great time. I loved it. You got to meet a lot of good friends, got to learn like military drills, they held us accountable. And it allowed me at a young age to focus on that instead of the outside stuff that was going around me in the Bronx. Especially you're a young kid, you hang around a certain crowd and you start doing things that you don't want to do.
Sure.
Bad things that could get you into trouble. So that allowed me to stay out of trouble and learn the right things to do and learn that if I wanted to get into this field, number one thing I had to do was just stay out of trouble. So that's what I learned from that. And I didn't stay there up until the age of 18 because then sports started getting into the way.
Okay.
I wanted to focus on playing baseball, playing football, playing sports. So then I started going less and less and less. But that time that I did spend there, it helped me a lot to learn how to, one, learn about the job, two, stay out of trouble, and then eventually me getting into the field it was definitely very, very important to me.
I like it. Here's one thing I've always wanted to know that I never got to ask any of the explorers that I work with. With being an explorer in an area like the Bronx, how did people outside of the Explorer program or every other kid that you went to school with or that was in the neighborhood and may have known what you did, how did they perceive you?
To be honest, a lot of the people that I hung out with, we would either play basketball, kickball in the park or something like that. And they never really told me anything negative about it. But there was one instant, and it's funny, it was one instant where we were in the 5-0 in the back parking lot, where we were doing some drills or something like that. And I think that's the same area where they bring in, I guess they pull up and they bring in like whoever they arrested and they bring them into the sergeant's office or the front desk. And funny enough, there was a kid that I was doing the drills, and then I look over to the person that they're bringing in, and it happened to be somebody that hung out at the park that I hung out with, and I saw him, and I was like, "Holy smokes!" Like, I don't know what he did, I don't know, what he was involved with or anything like that, but it was someone that we would play basketball. Like, it would be either 5-on-5 or 3-on-3, and we would be playing either against each other on the same team. And I saw him, and I was like, wow, I wonder. And I know we made eye contact 100%. Like, I saw him, he saw me, and I was like, wow, I wonder what he did. And I wonder what he thinks of me now that he sees me here, So I never really got any backlash or anything like that, but definitely I don't know if it allowed me to, I guess, kind of stay away from that negativity.
Sure.
And maybe that was a good thing that I was able to see that, and it impacted me to listen. This is not what I want to do. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to, fall into something bad and, God forbid, risk, me trying to get into law enforcement, which was something that I really wanted to do.
Great mindset.
Yeah.
5-0, what area of the Bronx is that?
That's like, I think it covers like Van Cortlandt, Riverdale, and probably like Kingsbridge or something like that.
Kingsbridge, okay.
A little bit of Kingsbridge. I know it's like on Broadway and like the last stop of the one train. Somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you grow up with both of your parents?
No. So funny enough, no. So my mom, I love her to death. She is one of the reasons that I work so hard and put my head down and work so hard because growing up, she was the only person that we had. My dad wasn't around. I've talked to him now and then, but it's not the same relationship.
Yeah.
But growing up, it was always my mom. And one of the reasons why I am the way that I am and work hard the way that I work hard is because I saw her at one of her lowest points growing up. She was New York City State New York City, I think housing, like not housing police or anything like that. She worked for civil service, but she was like doing administrative work for New York City Housing.
Okay.
So she was civil service, and she worked so many years in that department, and she was laid off. I think it was right around 2008, where it was like the financial crash. She was laid off and she lost everything that she was working so hard to build. And watching her go through that allowed me to see what she went through, putting so much time and dedication and then just losing it just like that. But watching her bounce back from it. I watched her go from her lowest point to now start volunteering at local hospital and then working hard to eventually get a paid position at Lincoln Hospital in the South Bronx. So she got a paid position there. So watching her go from that, her lowest point, to not letting it, affect her and not letting, not giving up, to now volunteering, working so she won't get paid, to getting a paid position, watching her go through that transition and everything like that, resonates so much with me. Like now, when I look back, I'm like, I don't want to give up on anything that I'm doing because she never gave up. She never gave up on us. And she was a single mom with 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yep. Me and my 2 older sisters.
That's very admirable.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with your mom being busy and working and being a single mom, I know you said that you were in the Explorer program, but you're in the Bronx. Everybody knows that the Bronx is pretty tough.
Oh, yeah.
What was it that gave you that wisdom to say, I want to stay out of trouble, aside from wanting to be a police officer? What was it that was instilled in you that said, I'm going to stay away from the streets. I'm going to stay away from trouble?
I think a lot of it has to do with, I guess, the right people around me. There's definitely people that you can get around and you go down that path and you do what they do and then you end up in the same spot.
Yeah. How do you find those people?
I would have to say, I would have to give a lot of credit to playing sports.
Okay.
Because in high school, I was busy. I was either in the football team during the fall, and then winter sports. And then I didn't play any basketball, but I was preparing for baseball. So once football ended, I was preparing for baseball. And a lot of those kids, we get together and we try and, we're trying to do is make it. All of us are young. We all have the same mindset. We're just trying to make it. And we're either grinding out, working out, trying to make it and avoid getting into something that we don't want to do, because there was a lot of gangs around us. There was a lot of stuff around us. And lucky enough, I was able to just avoid it. And if it was something that came to me and was in front of me, I just try to not participate in it.
Were there ever any critical incidents that you saw in the Bronx that kind of shook you up and kept you on that path? Now, you mentioned your friend or the person that you played in the park with, seeing him arrested, but was there anything else that really kind of shook you to your core that you saw or experienced?
Definitely, that was one of the biggest impacts too. Just seeing someone that I knew in cuffs going into a precinct. That was one of them. And then Other things could be like, hearing like the horror stories of like, oh, just, this group of people did this to somebody. This other group of people is like, they're gonna try and get revenge. Like, you hear bad things happen and you're like, listen, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah.
And two, I'm not gonna get a group of people and try and do that to somebody else.
Right.
So you hear those stories and you're like, listen, I'm not going down that path. Because once you do that and you get arrested, that was my mindset. And I don't know if it's true or not. I knew that was my mindset, that the moment I get in trouble, I get something on my record, I'm done. I won't be able to become a police officer. So I was like, nope, I'm not going to get involved in this or that. And, try and hang out with these people. God forbid another group of people come and they think I'm part of it now.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. So it sounds like you were blessed to not see too much or too many traumatic events. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. So I hear the theme in you being a police officer keeping you away from a lot of negativity. So with that being said, I kind of feel like that is your purpose, right? Like that is what God made you for, and you seem like you're happy where it is that you are. How did you get there?
Hard work. Hard work, putting my head down, never giving up, because at one point there was like a fork in the road where I had to decide what to do in my path to get exactly to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And that was when my son was being born. It was he was about to be born. It was early 2023. And I had to decide two things. I just finished paying for mentorship, and I got a lot of great knowledge through there. And I was working super, super hard to get my first deal, like my first real estate deal. And the sergeant's test was going to come out in the summer of 2023. Mm-hmm. So people usually start studying for 6 months, to start preparing for the sergeant's test. So I either had to go down one road, one or the other, which was start studying for the sergeant's test and 100% focus on that, or I just paid about $10,000 in a mentorship. I still haven't been successful. My son is about to be born.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah. Before we get into that, I kind of wanted to talk about, how did you become a police officer? What was that process like? Yeah.
Oh, becoming a police officer? Yeah. So when I went to Jamestown, I studied criminal justice for 2 years.
So you're still on the path.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then I came down to Monroe College, which is in the Bronx, and I wanted to get my bachelor's in criminal justice. So I started doing that program, and that's where I met my wife now, Kimberly. So she was also in criminal justice, and she wanted to become a police officer. Okay. So we met there, and there was the Cadet program. I'm sure you know about the Cadet program.
Yeah.
They offered the Cadet program, and
for those that don't know what the Cadet program is, because we have a lot of listeners, through the grace of God, that aren't police officers or may be thinking about being a police officer. If you could just explain what that is.
So the Cadet program, you have to kind of be still in college. You have to be in between a certain amount of credits. I'm not sure how many credits you have to be, but you have to be enrolled in a college, and you can now apply, and you have to go through the full process. You have to apply, and you now can do administrative work at the precinct. You can learn more. You can do trips at the academy. You can do like a modified academy for the cadets as well. So all of that allows you to learn a lot about what the department is, and it's based off the NYPD. So not the other departments that are nearby, but the NYPD. Yeah. And you can learn a lot and see if this is something that you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you got enrolled in the Cadet program.
So I was about to enroll. About to enroll. So my wife, at the time we were dating, she enrolled, and right around that same time, I already took the Suffolk County test. And
what year is this?
That the year that they called me was 2016.
What year was it that you took the test?
I took the test in 2015.
Okay.
2015, I took the test, and then they called me as my wife is going into the cadets. They called me. I'm in the middle of my senior year, and I'm like, I gotta go. This is huge. Like, I didn't expect it. They called me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I gotta take this. This is a great opportunity.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So your wife, she was in the process of going into the cadets for the NYPD, correct?
Yes.
And you were going to go into the cadets for the NYPD.
I was thinking about it.
You were
yes,
thinking
sir.
about
I was
going
thinking
into
about
the cadets
yes,
for the NYPD.
yes.
But then Suffolk County.
Suffolk called, and I was like, yeah, I got to take this. I got to go now. I can't finish college. I got to take this now because you never know when that opportunity is going to come back up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Suffolk County, I mean, for the longest, I don't know if it's still the case, but they were the highest paid police officers in the nation.
I believe so.
Still?
Maybe. Maybe.
So you said that your wife was interested in being a police officer as well. So she became a cadet,
Yes.
right? And what happened from there with her?
So she became a cadet, and then she was able to take the promotional exam to be able to now jump into being a full-time police officer for the NYPD. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
she got in, and she was super ecstatic. She was happy because that's all she wanted to do, ever since she was growing up too. She wanted to
Really?
become a police officer. So she did that. I was in Suffolk, and we were doing our thing. We were just like, we were saving, we were getting ready to buy our own place, and we were enjoying ourselves pretty much.
Okay. So you guys got on the same year? You and Suffolk, and
she got on to the cadets in that same year.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until 2018 until she got into the actual NYPD.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Okay. And you got on in
2016.
2016.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How hard was that process?
Getting into the Suffolk.
Yeah.
It was definitely hard.
What does it consist of?
A little bit different. So I think the same process that everyone goes through. So it's a written test, a physical, which the physical, funny enough, I had to try it out twice because the first time I failed it.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's in the physical?
Push-ups, sit-ups, and a run. So nothing too crazy. I know the NYPD is a little bit different. They have like the wall jump. You go up and down a couple stairs. You do like a weighted push and pull, and then you drag the dummy, and then you do the trigger pull.
Right.
So the Suffolk one, just straight up push-ups, sit-ups, and the run. And I failed the sit-ups the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how did I fail the sit-ups? And I was preparing for it first. So it was just my technique. It wasn't the right technique. You need the right, you need to make sure that you got to do it perfect. So then the second round came up, and I just made sure that I had everything perfect. And lucky enough, I was able to pass it. Because if I failed it, I would have been like, oh man, wow, this was an amazing chance.
You always had NYPD as a backup, right?
That was the backup. That was the backup. And it's funny because I never knew about Suffolk County or Nassau County. My whole mindset was like I always wanted to be a police officer, and it's gonna happen in the NYPD. And it wasn't until I heard like a radio. I was driving, and it was like late at night. I heard a radio station saying Spanish-speaking officers needed in Suffolk County. And I was like, where is Suffolk County? I had to Google it. I was like, oh, Suffolk County is in Long Island. Okay, maybe I should try it out. And I tried it out, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening. I'm getting in, and I'm like new. Like, when you get in, you're already either in the NYPD and you do like a lateral transfer, or you go to another department.
Yeah.
I was 23 years old going into the department, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
What a blessing. Some people consider, which I think is very toxic, getting 3/4 to be hitting the lottery. But then there are others that consider getting into Suffolk County, hitting the lottery, and the fact that every cop on Long Island, every person that wants to become a cop on Long Island, they're putting in for that Suffolk County test.
Yes.
And here you are,
Yes.
You come back from college, you go back to the Bronx?
I come back from upstate and I'm in Monroe College. And in Monroe College, they call me.
And you were staying on campus there?
Not saying just
No,
because
but you were still living in the Bronx.
I was still living in the
You were
Bronx.
living in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea what Suffolk County is.
Nope.
And you just put in for it and you just get it.
And luckily enough, I was able to work hard. And like you said, the process, definitely hard. A lot of the same things, psych tests, written and verbal, and then all those other things that you just need to pass. The physical by far is the most difficult one because it seems easy when you talk about push-ups and sit-ups and running, but then when you're there, you get nervous. You maybe miss, you may not go all the way up on the push-up. You may not touch your knees with your elbows on the sit-ups. And those were the type of things that got me the first time. And then the second time around, I was very focused and determined to get it done.
Gotcha. With you being a police officer for 2 years before your wife became a police officer and kind of understanding how the cop culture works, how did you feel about her being a cop?
So it's funny because ever since, I would have to say, ever since COVID, I was telling her to retire.
Why?
One, because of some of the mandates that they were putting down on the NYPD cops. I wanted her to retire. And obviously all the other things that were going on during that time, I wanted her to get out of there. And I was like, listen, get out. Like I'll hold it down. I got it. And at that time, we weren't even in real estate. We were just living in our co-op in Westchester. And I was just like, get out and listen, we'll make it work. I wanted her out of there.
Wait, so that's crazy. Most people want to be Suffolk cops because they live in Suffolk or they live in you're commuting from Westchester to Suffolk County.
Yes, I was. This was, and again, this was my battle that I had to just take the defeat in. She was in the NYPD and she was in the 4-4. So this was a busy house.
Okay.
So she was dealing with a lot of stuff.
Heavy house.
Oh yeah. And she was in I guess conditions where they jump in a van and they go out and they're looking for stuff. So she was
collars.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So they were going out there. So she was busy. And I wasn't gonna be able to convince her and say, hey, you take the 1 hour and a half trip to the Bronx from Long Island.
Makes sense.
So I was like, all right, I had to, sacrifice. And that was a sacrifice that was something that I was definitely happy to do because it made her commute better. And again, I was always against traffic going into Long Island.
Yeah.
Because in the mornings, during the weekdays, traffic is coming into the city. Mm-hmm. So going in the mornings, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was when I left right around like midday, that's when traffic used to build up. So if I used to get stuck on overtime or something like that, I would always get stuck a little bit in traffic. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe 2.
Yes. Yes. I know the traffic patterns all too well.
Oh, yeah.
So when I speak on the cop culture, I speak more on like a lot of cops don't want to date other cops.
That's very true. That's very true.
Did that affect your marriage at all? In the cop culture, her being an NYPD cop, 4-4 precinct, very busy command. Obviously, she was a hard charger if she was in conditions. How did that play a part on your relationship? Were there any like insecurities? Were there any like doubts or anything like that with you being a police officer? And like I said, understanding like the cop culture and the toxicity and, guys don't care if women are married and stuff like that. Like, was that ever something that affected you in your relationship?
One thing that helped out a lot was that we met prior to both of us ever being cops. That was the biggest thing because when we met, we used to do everything together when we were in college. We used to walk, talk a lot, talk about our future, talk about our dreams, how we want to raise kids, what, religion, God, all of those things.
Wow.
That right there was huge because we were able to identify exactly this is who I want to be with. This is who I want to grow with. This is who I want to have a family with. So, and obviously knowing our family dynamics. That's huge when you're meeting someone. So knowing who she was, how she grew up, and everything like that, and vice versa, that was huge. And it obviously we know we hear the rumors and this and that, what goes on in the department, but being able to do that, meet so young, talk about that, being able to live together at a young age, getting our co-op together and, going through life together, we literally just ignored all that stuff and we were able to focus on each other and grow with each other, know exactly what we want, and know that if we deviate from that and we go down a different path, we're not, you go down that path and what are you going to get? You're going to just go on a cycle and you're going to date 10 people and you're going to be labeled something. Right. Or you do something and, you're going to be labeled something. So that's not what she wanted. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to do that. I wanted a family. I wanted a person that I can grow with, go to church with, do all those things with. So knowing that she was that type of person and knowing she knew that what type of person I was, that helped us a lot when we both went into our departments. We did our thing and we made sure that we handling work and we came home to each other every time. And COVID helped a lot because COVID, we were locked in, like whenever you come home, like nothing's really like open. So we would just, come home, watch a movie, Netflix, order in, all those things. So that was during that time where we got our first apartment, our condo. So, or co-op, and that helped a lot. That helped a lot.
So you established a firm foundation.
Absolutely.
How much did your faith have to do with that?
It was huge, knowing that we're both Catholic. We both come from that background and knowing that we don't want to continue doing the same thing that everybody does. We don't want to continue, raising our kids in a I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but not fearing God. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of things that go on nowadays in society and not being able to fear God, that's very important. And I feel like that's something that we want to be able to install and say, listen, God is very important to us. He's in our life. He's in our marriage. We want to walk and actually what we say we want to actually do. Yeah. So if we say we're going to do something, we actually want to show it and then pass that down to our kids.
I like that, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
That's when my relationship started to get better, was when I turned to God.
That's
because before that, all I was doing was listening to other police officers and their negativity and why relationships don't work as a police officer, and divorce, and child support. But when I turned to God and I listened to him and did things the right way, that's when things turned around.
And that's huge. That's huge because I heard a lot of it, a lot of different stories.
Yeah.
From either my coworkers or other rumors that you hear.
In Suffolk County, right? It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we hear that and I'm like, and I see it. We see it firsthand. And those are the things that you see and you're like, I don't, and it actually relates to when I was growing up. I saw what people were going through and how, somebody was either getting locked up or something like that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I was able to see it to now make that decision and be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go the other way and I'm going to follow this path.
Gotcha. What was your schedule or what is your schedule like?
Right now?
Or when you first started?
When we first started, so we do kind of like day 1 week days and 1 week afternoons. Okay. So it would alternate. It would be 5 days on, 2 days off, 5 days on, 3 days off.
Oh, really?
So and it would alternate days and afternoon, days and afternoon. So, and that's tough. That's a tough schedule because you try and, get accustomed to, sleeping in the morning. Then you got to switch to afternoons.
Yeah.
I always considered going to midnights, but then the traffic in the mornings going back to Westchester was something that always kept me away from midnights. So I'm glad that I didn't do it yet.
And what type of schedule did your wife have?
I think she had steady, because I think it was steady shift, right? That's steady in NYPD. Yeah, so she was steady days for a period of time on patrol in the 4-4, and then she got into conditions, and then she was like steady like afternoons.
Okay.
And it would be, I met a bunch of her team, the team that used to get in the van and go out, and those were great people. You get led by like a detective. We went to his house, had a full barbecue, multiple times went to their houses with the whole group, and you get to meet the people that are working together and putting their lives at risk together, especially in the 4-4s, which is a dangerous place.
Yeah, those busy commands, they seem to be a lot a lot tighter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How about in Suffolk PD?
We definitely had the exact same thing. Busier house, more closer, but in every department you have your group of people, your core people that you get to be with. You either get the kids together or get together, hang out, have a barbecue, or go to the games with. Either go to Yankee Stadium, catch a football game, things like that. So it's definitely, you get to meet these people. You work alongside them. You're risking your life, with them day in and day out. So, you get to know them off of work as well.
Got you. With your wife working in NYPD and you working in Suffolk, if you guys were to compare the cultures or the work environment, what would you see the biggest differences were?
I guess the biggest difference, I think, quality of life, I would say.
Quality of life.
Quality of life, yes. Because in Suffolk, a lot of the people that I do see that come from the NYPD, they say the quality of life is a little bit better. The job, you can definitely say that it's a little bit more relaxed. But it's the same work, same job. You still deal with the same people. You still get your hands dirty. But definitely quality of life when it comes to the schedule, when it comes to overtime, that's huge. There's no mandatory overtime.
No mandated overtime.
No mandated overtime. So that's coming from the NYPD. That's very important. So definitely quality of life is one of the things that I've always heard from anybody that came from the NYPD that goes to Suffolk is quality of life.
Okay. I remember when I first became a police officer, I had a guy that I went to high school with that became a Suffolk police officer. And he said that you guys get all of your equipment through Suffolk County at that time. This is back in 2006. So he was like, you just go to, I don't know what it was called, but you just go to a certain location. You be like, I need a new shirt. I need new boots. I need new this. I need new that. And they're hooking you up. Is that still the case?
That's still the case.
Oh, man.
Are you
serious?
Kimberly has to buy all her BDUs. Kimberly has to buy her flash. Well,
BDUs, what's that?
Like the pants, the BDU pants, like the khaki pants or the cargo pants or whatever it is.
I never heard that before.
BDUs, I think, yes. I
guess
don't know.
Suffolk thing?
I guess that's a Suffolk thing.
Okay.
So I guess like the blue pants with the pockets, everything like that.
Yep.
She has to buy everything, her actual uniform with everything. So you could just go and if something rips, you can just go and pick up you give them back the old one and they give you back a new one.
And it's good quality.
Good quality. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have to pay for your firearm?
No.
Did you have to pay for any of your equipment? Flashlights, stuff like that. I'm sure if you want to buff out.
Yes.
If you want to buff out.
If you want a buff mic, they won't give you a buff mic. Okay. Well, now I think they are giving them out now. But if you wanted one back when I was on, I think you just buy one on your own.
But I'm saying like buffing out, meaning like if you want the best of the best, then obviously you got to go and you got to buy your own stuff.
Yes, you got to buy your own stuff. But if you want the standard stuff, that's an issue to you. Yes. You have to give it all back. You give it all back once you finish, but to
take that. You give me an extra ticket. Yeah, that's wild, man. That is so wild. How about this? How do civilians treat you?
It's a little bit different.
Yeah. What's the support like? Well, your wife may talk about what it's like working in the 4-4 and how people treat police officers out there to how you get treated in Suffolk County.
I think like first day on field training, I was with somebody and we were driving down a neighborhood or something like that, and the kids were like waving at us. And I was like, oh, cool, they're waving.
Yeah.
Because Kim would have told me like years now later on, she told me like, yeah, nobody's waving to us. No one's saying hi, so, but from my first day on to, even now, you see kids, they wave at you, you wave at them, they wave back. Obviously you'll have some people that just, are not
just
fans.
Go about their business.
Yeah, they either go about their business or they're not fans of law enforcement. But it's definitely a culture where they support law enforcement, and rightfully so. Like we go out there, we put our lives on the line. We try and, do the right thing for everybody. And that's our goal to do that. So, but I don't know if it's the same mentality.
Yeah.
I don't think, from what Kim tells me, there's nobody that's, saying hi and bye to the cops in the streets in the South Bronx.
You got people cooking you meals, telling you, "Oh yeah, I got to play for you," or anything like that.
That's all. Yeah, all the time. But
really?
but we we're like, no, it's okay.
Oh man,
because you never know. But that's definitely, and people support us, people love us. So that's a good thing.
Man, that's great. Imagine that.
So quality of life.
That. Yeah.
Quality of life. Yes.
Yeah. And does that make you feel that much more appreciated? Does that make you feel like waking up and putting on your uniform when you get to work is worth it?
It definitely is encouraging, because, like I said, we're all doing the same job. We're all answering these 911 calls. We're all, while everybody else is running away from danger, we're going to it. Whether it's, so it happens more frequently in the city,
mm-hmm.
It still happens in Long Island, and a lot of things happen, and it helps when you finish doing that and you've done it for so long, and people are supportive of you, and people back you, and people say, listen, thank you, after you done anything, whether it's as small as going to an aided call to as big as helping someone, in a CPR situation,
okay.
Doing something different.
Yeah.
It helps when someone turns around and says thank you, and when they see you in the streets, they wave hi and say thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
It definitely helps.
Well said. Well said. I think that people have a perception, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong about this, but obviously NYPD, a lot of the precincts, it's like the Wild Wild West. Come out to Suffolk County, everything is sunshine and rainbows, right? I feel, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel that there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that may not be brought to the forefront in order to maintain that image for Suffolk County or for Long Island. Are there things that happen often, Suffolk County or where you work, that many people may not know about?
I think nowadays, in our day and age where there's cameras like everywhere, people hear rumors, this and this and that. Mm-hmm. The news team will come, and I think nowadays that doesn't happen often. I don't know if it happened back in the days, but definitely nowadays it's more of like, listen, this happens, let's take care of it. Let's take care of it the right way. And there's no backlash if we handle it straightforward.
Okay. What are some of the common jobs that you may go to that may be heavy?
Definitely like domestics. When I was in patrol, domestics is a huge thing.
And you were working where?
This was when I was in patrol.
Yeah, where were you working?
I was in the town of Huntington.
Okay.
So domestics, like a mentally disturbed individual that needs assistance or needs to get driven out to the hospital, whether they're violent or whether they're just going through an episode. Those are heavy things as well. There was a big period where there was a lot of overdoses. Those are, important calls that we go to. And then there's, some of the things that are, there's also, a lot of shootings that happened, things that happen as well. So
a lot of shootings.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that happen, and those things they're on the news, we respond to, and again, we make sure that we do the right thing. We investigate it, we get to the scene, we make sure we help anybody that needs assistance with their, if they're injured or anything like that. And those are the things that you can't kind of like keep those things hush hush.
Yeah.
Because the news are, they're there.
Yeah,
they know about it.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that our number one priority is transparency.
Sure.
And that's how you get a lot of support from
the community.
The community is through transparency.
Nice. You said that you were on patrol. What do you do now?
So right now, it's an assignment that I just got on now, which is the school resource officer.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So this is something super impactful for me. Yeah, because what I want to do now is I want to be able to directly impact and be like a positive role model to the youth. And now being a school resource officer, that allows me to visit the schools and have like a personal, interaction with kids where it doesn't involve me answering a 911 call. It's just me being able to, go to these schools, give a presentation, speak to them one-on-one, relate to them, and be able to share my experience in life to either help them go on to do things that they want to do, or if they want to become a police officer, talk to them about what they would be getting into as well.
Do you feel like you being in the Explorer program, it's kind of motivated you to do something like this, being that there were police officers that had somewhat of an impact on you in your process of growing up? Do you feel like this is your way of giving back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was something that I've always wanted to do. Always wanted to be able to give back and share the same thing that I was able to learn as an explorer to this is what it takes to become a police officer. And one of the most important things is staying out of trouble. And if just by doing that and meeting someone and letting them know, listen, like, you can do anything in life, and you can, or if you want to become a police officer, but if you want to do all of those things, making sure that you stay away from what everybody else is doing, stay away from the, things that are negatively happening, and focus on staying out of trouble, you can 100% succeed on that. And if it's just that, then I would be happy.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Very beautiful. You're getting paid the big bucks, Suffolk County. Wifey's on NYPD. Sounds like the money is flowing. What made you want to get into real estate?
So, so in 2019, we bought our first co-op. We bought our first co-op, and then it was the middle of COVID. Interest rates dropped, and we know what happened. Everything exploded. All the prices went up. So we sold our co-op, and then we were buying our primary house in Westchester. So we were buying our primary house. During that time, I was also trying to save more money for a down payment and everything like that. I still was not into real estate investing. And I was like really working hard, like doing a lot of overtime, like really like, putting myself out there to save a lot of money.
What does overtime look like for you guys?
Like, for example, if manpower shortage. So if there's a couple cars that are not filled, they call people for overtime to be able to fill those cars.
If you say you don't want to do it, is there retaliation?
No, just there's a list. You sign up. If you don't sign up, you're not on that list. And next, whoever's next.
So it's not like, oh, well, you didn't raise your hand this time, so now that you want it the next time, it's...
No. You're allowed to either sign up or not sign up.
Oh, so they treat you like gentlemen.
Yes.
Oh, cool. All right. Very nice.
Yeah. So there's, you can sign up for it, or you if you don't want it, then that's fine. It goes to the next person. But during this particular time where we were just getting ready to get into our first house, I was working hard, doing a lot of overtime. And I remember coming back home one day and realizing that I was like really like exhausted, really tired. And I remember also seeing a lot of the people that are getting ready to leave the department. They work a lot of overtime because they want to be able to help out their pension.
Yeah.
So I saw how they looked. I saw how exhausted they looked. I saw how exhausted I was. And I felt like it's crazy, because this is what you have to do to be able to survive and be able to buy a house and be able to, just live comfortably. So as I'm scrolling through my phone after I come home from work, and it's like the end of the week, scrolling through my phone, I started seeing like a lot of big name people that I know now, that after doing a lot of research, I know now. So like Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, Pace Morby, and I would just scroll past them, not paying any mind to their like, oh, you can do real estate and this and that. And at one point I stopped at what Grant Cardone was saying, and I was like, oh, let me listen to what he has to say. And it kind of like hit me right there, where I was like, oh, this actually makes sense. You can buy a property, you can, rent it out, and then the money that's left over goes into your pocket, and it goes up in price, maybe a little bit every single year. The person that's living there, the tenant, pays down the debt, and you can also use that as tax write-off. So I was like, oh, this actually makes sense. Like, let me look into this. So I actually paid like an online course for Grant Cardone, and his motto is your first deal has to be like a 300 unit apartment complex. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to buy a 300 unit apartment complex for my first deal. So
yeah, that would be you being a part of one of his deals.
Yeah. Something like it something crazy. So I was like, all right, this maybe not for me.
Yeah.
Then I started listening to Robert Kiyosaki, read the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, read all of his books with Ken McElmore, all of his books. And then I was like, okay, maybe finding like a mentor would be a good thing.
Yeah.
So I did like a very local mentorship, and I paid $10,000 for that mentorship. And that gave me the foundation that I needed to actually go out there to look for deals. And that was right around 2022, 2023. And right around that time, interest rates started going up. So as I'm looking for regular, deals to try and like, put a 20% down payment on, interest rates were going up. So every offer that I put, I was getting outbidded, or the numbers didn't work because of the interest rates. So I was like, this is not working, because nothing is penciling out. And I didn't want to I just didn't want to get into real estate and buy something, that wasn't going to work and then come back and regret it.
Yeah.
So nothing that at that time was penciling out. Then I found Pace Morby, and Pace Morby talks a lot about the things that I've learned so far now that has, helped me tremendously, which is seller finance, subject to, creative finance, being able to get into a house where you can have the seller essentially give you the mortgage and be the person that you pay the mortgage to. And once I found that, I was like, this actually works. I got my first deal in 2023. And ever since then, it was like a domino effect of getting more and more deals.
How did you come about finding that first local mentorship?
I did some research. So I went to, there's I think a website where you go to look for your local RIAs, and RIAs are real estate Real
Investors
Estate Investing
Associations.
Association. Yeah. So I went in there and I found like a local one, which was in Long Island. And I was like, oh, let me give this a try.
Was
And
was that the one in Melville?
that's the one in Melville. Yes,
And
yes.
with what was her name?
Uh,
Melissa Shea.
Yeah, Melissa
Was
Shea.
that a scam?
So it wasn't a scam. I don't think it was a scam. I think it allowed me two things. It allowed me to build a foundation to learn exactly what I need to learn to be able to go out there and defend myself. Because like you said, there is a lot of scams out there in real estate. So it allowed me to learn what I needed to learn to build a foundation. So now I can build on top of that foundation.
Yeah.
So that's what, and two, it allowed me to put myself in a room with other people that are actually doing deals and see the movement, see how you talk, see how you network, learn how to talk, learn how to network, be in that room. So it allowed me to learn that right there.
I think that's awesome that you could put it like that, because I know some people that have gone through that and they're like, oh, it's a scam, or she's a snake, or she's this, or she's that. Or some people say that she just straight up, or that association straight up did them wrong. But the fact that you could come from it and say, oh, well, it didn't work out, but I was able to extract this from it, that's a great mindset to have.
It definitely allowed me to make, put myself in a position where I can go out there and be comfortable enough to say yes or no. And I did that on one of the first deals. I was looking up in Cooperstown, New York, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is. Yeah. And I wanted to do an Airbnb up there. And I was under contract. I was getting ready to sign on the dotted lines to close. And lucky enough, when I finally went to the bank to get the interest rate again, because we had it on the contract, they gave me a quote at first at 5%. And then a couple time passed, and then they re-quoted me. They came back at 8%. I was able to feel comfortable enough to just be like, nope, this does not make sense. The numbers don't make sense. So it allowed me to learn the basics to be able to go out there and defend myself and not just say, oh yeah, let me just get into a deal just to get into a deal.
What basics would those be, or what foundation would you say are essential that you learned?
I would say definitely knowing what's a good deal and what's not a good deal. How to underwrite, which means how to run the numbers, how to know what numbers to put. Like, for example, if you're buying a rental property, you need to make sure that you know the taxes, insurance, put 25% for CapEx, maintenance, vacancy, and management. If it's a single family, you could keep it at that because everything else goes to the tenant. But if it's a multifamily, you got to make sure that you keep in tab of snow removal, lawn care, the meters. Like if there's a landlord meter, you got to make sure you got to keep tabs of that. The water and sewer. If it's a multifamily, you got to pay for that. Because if it's not divided, then it's on you. All those things I was able to learn, and now I can take that to, whenever I go and see a deal, underwrite a deal, I know what's a good deal or not.
That's great.
And markets as well, knowing what's a good market, what's not a good market. I was able to identify, and I'm a huge investor in Connecticut. And a lot of people were doing a lot of business in Connecticut. So what did I do? I did a lot of research, searched it up. I see that they own a lot of stuff in Connecticut. And then when I went up to Connecticut, I went and visit different towns. So I went to Waterbury, I went to New Britain, I went to Manchester, I went to New Haven, I went to all these different locations, and I was like, this doesn't look like a place like that I want to invest in. And then I went to Bristol, Connecticut, and I looked, I was like, oh, the roads are clean, they're putting new developments, there's no people hanging out in the street doing this or that. So I was like, okay, this is a good area that I want to invest in. So I set my mark on that, and that's what I was able to learn, which is a good foundation so you can go out there and take action.
What do you think are the key things that people should look for when it comes down to a mentorship or a program? Because I've gone through many. I've had mentors. one of them, which caused me to lose, or pretty much they jerked me for $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think are some telltale signs to determine if a mentorship is legit or not, so that people don't have to waste their time? One thing that I did learn is sometimes you have to go through some things in order to understand what you don't want. Is there anything that you would give the viewers, any advice on when it comes down to taking part of a mentorship in real estate?
Absolutely. And when it comes to real estate, everything is recorded. Everything is documented. Everything is recorded through the town or the county or something like that. So if somebody's telling you that they own stuff and you want them as your mentor, ask them those questions. Say, oh, so you own X, Y, and Z. So show me. Because there's HUD statements, there's county records, the LLC that they own would own that property, and they can prove that to you with the LLC, the HUD statements, all those things. You can show somebody those things to show them, like, listen, I own this for real, and these are the type of things that you can do research on, so you can know that this person's legit or not. Other things would be reach out to the other people that have gone through it. Like, actually reach out to them. Don't just go based off, either like a, testimonial or something like that.
Yeah.
Actually reach out to them and say, listen, did this person actually do what they say? Is this actually, the person that's actually helping you out? Is it true how he helps you out, or X, Y, and Z? Those things are important, is verifying and then reaching out, getting like a good reference for that.
Absolutely. I would like to also add transparency. The people that I was working with, they helped me make money. So I kind of let down my guard, but they were very, very sneaky. They were not very open with what it is. They were open with where they live. They were open with, the properties that they were invested in with other investors and things like that. It was always like, oh, well, I have other investors that I work with, and they don't need anything from me. They don't need anything in writing. They just go right ahead. That wastes time and all this other stuff. If they're not transparent, if they are very closed with sharing their resources and they act like everything that they know, they learn through hard work and they don't want to share with other people, stay away from them.
Oh, yeah.
If they do not want to put you on to other people that have worked with them, stay away from them.
Oh, yeah.
Stay away, because anybody that's doing the right thing is going to be open, ready, willing, and able to help other people. If they want to help you, they're going to be helping other people as well, and they're going to want to put those other people that they have helped around you, so that they could see that so that you could see that what they're doing is legit. But these people that I was working with, they very rarely wanted to bring other people in. I only met them in person once. And I know this sounds so ridiculous, but I was just so happy with making money that I let my guard down. And when I said I don't want to work with them anymore because I realized that they were crazy, that they were psychos, that they were very self-serving, even though they try to act like they were my friends. They were just scam artists, and they were just greedy and in it for themselves, and very, very prideful. So if anybody wants to get in real estate that's listening to this right now, listen to what Joel V and I are saying, because it'll save you a lot of time. You could look it up online. You could look up, you could even ask us. Pace is very well known. Very well known. I don't know anybody that's going through his course that said like he's a scammer or anything like that. I know a lot of people that have gone through his courses and haven't done much.
And that goes to it. Is like, if you're gonna learn information, then you have to take action. You have to be able to take that action. You have to be able to put yourself in the trenches and go after it. And that's something that I did when I finally learned this stuff, that I took relentless action.
Yeah. And how many properties do you own now?
So right now we own 7 and we are under contract with number 8.
Congrats.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yes.
That's amazing. All in Connecticut?
7. So 6 are in Connecticut and that 7th is going to be, I'm sorry, that 8th is going to be in Connecticut, and our primary house in Westchester, we turned that into a rental. So there's 6 currently in Connecticut that we own, 1 in Westchester, and that 8th one is in Connecticut.
How much extra income is that yielding you monthly?
That is a ridiculous amount. Not a ridiculous amount, like, but it helps out a lot.
Yeah.
It helps out a lot to the point where we were able to make that decision where my wife was officially able to leave the NYPD. Yes. Yeah. She was able to officially retire in 2024. And now she's officially out of the NYPD. She did, I think, about 5 years or 5.5 years. And she left. They even said like, oh, stay 2 more weeks so you could have your, your service gun. And she was like, nope, take it.
Really?
Take it. Keep it.
So this was 2 years ago. You have 8 properties that you're about to get now. How many did you have back then?
2023 was the first one. January, like right around the beginning of 2024, we got number 2. And then right around the summertime of 2024, we got number 3. And then our primary house, we turned that into a rental in 2025. We got 2 in the summer of 2025 and then 1 in the fall of 2025. That makes it 6. Wait, hold on. 2023, 2024, 2025. I'm sorry, 2024, our primary house number 4, 2, 6 in the summer of 2025, and then 1 in the fall of 2025. And now in 2026 would be number 8.
And what's your main strategy to acquire these properties?
Is what Pace Morby does, which is like the creative finance, the seller finance, and things like that.
Can you give some examples of what creative finance is, what subject to existing finances?
So seller finance, which is what we particularly do, is pretty much we would go to a seller that's either, I'll give you my example. Back in 2023, this seller, who's a tired landlord, they were on the market when interest rates were going up. They were on the market for 6 months. So I just went to the seller and said, hey, I would give you your full asking price, no questions asked or more, if you allow me to just, instead of me getting a mortgage, let me just make payments directly to you. And they were already an investor. They were already a landlord. They had a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio. So they were like, yeah, I'll do that. And he wanted like a 6% interest rate. And I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I give you exactly what you want and you're going to give me the interest rate that is just below what you could go to the bank, what I could go to the bank for? So I said no to him. And then me and that landlord were going back and forth for months. And then finally I was able to bring him down to like a 2% interest rate.
2%?
2% in 2023.
How the heck did you do that?
Just straight up building a relationship and going back and forth. And I'm telling you, for months going back and forth, he would bring it down a little bit. He brought it down from 6 to like 5.5 to 5 to 4. And I kept on saying, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't pencil out. Finally, he said yes to a 2% interest rate. And I was like, all right, let's go. I'll send you the contract. He signed, I signed, and I was like, I couldn't believe that I actually got that under contract. Like when I got it under contract officially, I was like, there's no,
It feels so good.
There's no way. And that was my very first deal. How
did you find it? How are you finding your deals?
So the way that I found that one was going to on-market deals on Zillow. So you could do this completely for free on Zillow. Listings that are on the market from anywhere between over 90 days or over 120 days. And I simply call the agent or call the seller if they listed it themselves and say, listen, I know you've been on the market for quite some time. Have you been able to find the right price, blah, 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 whatever it is? Obviously, they're still on the market. They haven't found the right buyer. So I straight up tell them the same thing. If I give you your full asking price or more, would you allow me to make payments to you? Sometimes they don't know what it is. Then I explain to them, it's just simply me putting down a down payment directly to you. We go through attorneys, title, everything gets recorded with a deed, promissory note, everything. And I make payments directly to you. Some people are not, you're gonna get a lot of no's. I was getting a lot of no's in the beginning, and rightfully so. Like, you go out there and you're cold calling. If you start cold calling, whether it's through wholesaling or to get your own deal, you're gonna get a lot of no's.
Heck yeah.
So I got a lot of no's, and then finally when I got my first yes, it was the biggest, win for me ever.
One of the best books I've ever read is Go for No.
Go for No.
Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I think I should pick it up.
Great book. Because what happens is the more no's you get, eventually you'll get a yes. And then once you can come up with the ratio of no's that you get in order to get that yes and close a deal, then you understand how many people you have to call, how many times people have to say no until you're right around the corner from getting a deal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You keep on getting no's until you get your yes.
Yeah.
You're one more no closer to your yes.
Yeah, it's and like I said, with real estate and me doing it, it's just a numbers game.
Oh yeah.
And once you figure out that ratio or what's called the KPIs, the key performance indicators, then it's like, all right, yeah, just keep saying no, keep saying no. I need you to say no. You begin to encourage the no. A no is better than a click and a hang up. A no is better than a I don't know. A no is better than nobody picking up, because at least you have an answer.
Yep.
So you always want to go for the no's because it's measurable. And once you have that number down packed, you're set.
Oh yeah.
It's just a matter, you have to build up. How long did it take you to build up that tenacity in getting rejected? And how has that helped you in life?
It definitely took me some time, because at first, when you go into like that community where they were so successful, and I would see all the wins from everybody else, I was like, oh, this should be easy. Like everybody's winning.
Yeah.
Everybody's winning. So when I first got into it, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing in my market in Connecticut. And yeah, it was tough. It took me from actually going out there and making phone calls and everything like that. It took me 2 full years to get my first yes. 2 full years of me calling, cold calling and getting a lot of no's until I got my first yes. And it wasn't until I realized that my son was about to be born, where I was like, I paid $10,000 for this mentorship. My wife is, my wife is about to give birth, and my son's about to get here, and I'm freaking out because I still don't have my first deal. I want this to work out. I don't want to, let this be like a thing where I paid $10,000 and it was all for nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was the moment where I was like, I'm putting my head down, and I don't care if I have to go through the whole day, which is funny because I did. I would literally wake up in the morning and call the whole entire day until I get my yes.
How many hours would that consist of? Before you started taking it serious, you said it took you 2 years, but there was a point where it clicked and it was like, all right, I really got to take this serious. How often were you calling before? And then how often were you calling after you said, let's get busy?
I think I was maybe putting in like, an hour, maybe like every other day, calling an hour every other day, because the other times I would be either on a Zoom or listening to somebody else, do it, or listening to someone teach about it, how to get through the objections or something like that. So definitely I wasn't putting in the 12 hours of like, listen, I'm gonna sit down on this chair and I'm not gonna move until I get a bunch of no's or I make a certain amount of phone calls.
Yeah.
And that realization happened when Zachary was about to be born, and I was like, nah, I got to get this thing done, because then it's going to be all for nothing.
Yeah. I know for me, I would call 3 hours before going into work. I would have to be in at 1 o'clock, and I would call from 9 to about 12. That's why a lot of times I would just be late to work. I'm like, here's your 28. Here's your 28, because I was calling beforehand. My first deal I got working 3 hours before going into work. And then when I come home, I'll see what it is I have to work on the next day. It just kept going.
And kept going.
The grind happens where nobody is watching.
Yep.
It happens before work. It happens after work. You said something earlier that kind of bothered me. Not about you, but just about what it is that you said. Suffolk County is known as the department, as I mentioned before, that it's gotten paid the most throughout the nation. But yeah, you said that there's guys that are about to retire that are doing a bunch of overtime because you didn't say struggling was the word, but you said that they just need to make sure that they could pay their bills or something along those lines. I don't know what it was, or that, it's expensive, and I don't know. But the way it came, the way it came across is that even with a job or being a police officer in Suffolk PD, the highest paid department in the nation, and if I'm wrong, guys, you could correct me, but they were for the longest, that you still have people that feel like they're not making enough or still living beyond their means. So you have people in the NYPD that always say, oh, I wish I was in Suffolk PD. But then you have people that are in Suffolk PD that say, oh, I wish I had more overtime because I need more money.
Well, it's definitely, the cost of living is going up. We know that.
Yeah.
Inflation, I don't think that the inflation bug is ever going to stop.
Anywhere, yeah.
It's not going anywhere. It's always going to go up. So cost of living is always going to go up. And what I said earlier was that the guys that are that week where I was like really putting in overtime, I also saw guys that were getting ready to retire and putting in the same amount of overtime and everything like that because they needed to make sure that their pension is, because you get a certain amount of overtime into your pension, so it helps out. So being able to make sure that pension is good enough and putting in that hard work so that you can either pay the bills or survive when you're no longer in the job.
Gotcha.
That is something that happens a lot. And, that opened up my eyes where I was like, once I get to that point where I'm about to retire, do I really want to kill myself like that? Do I really want to sleep at the job to make ends meet, to make sure that my pension is going to be good enough so I can provide for my family, give them everything I want, and still live comfortably? And even if inflation goes up, or even if I live up to 90, 95 or 100, like am I going to be okay with that number? That is something that worried me, and I was like, I got to find something to do to be able to not have to worry about that. And that was when I was able to discover real estate and being able to understand the powers that real estate have. Being able to have that on the side of your pension is huge.
Absolutely.
Huge.
What was the key reason for retiring your wife?
I didn't want her to be in that dangerous job anymore. That was the number one thing. Nothing else, not even about real estate. I just didn't want her to be in that dangerous job. And our son was being born, and we came to an understanding that we didn't want anybody else to raise Zachary other than her. Because what happens when two parents are in, whether it's the department or just regular jobs, two parents go out to work. Now you have to leave your kids with the grandparents or a babysitter, things like that. So we wanted to make sure that we instill the values that we believe in when it comes to God, when it comes to what we think and what we believe in. We want to instill those values, and Kimberly was in agreement with that. And to this day, she's done an amazing job, and I don't know how to thank her enough, because she puts in the hard work to not only make that decision of leaving her career, because this was her career and this was something that she wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to thank her enough for making that decision, and then making the decision that we are going to make sure that we raise our son the best way possible, with church, with our values, with everything. And not only that, we're going to do it where she is going to homeschool Zachary, and being able to, you know, implement that where we weren't grown up to think like that, like, oh, homeschool, like it was always kind of like a negative thought process.
Yeah.
But with everything that we see day in and day out in our job, we were like, we really want to do this for our kids. So she's taking on that task, and it's not easy. It's not easy being leaving your career, making that decision to then now being at home. And it's something that I praise her for it every single day. And I'm so happy that she's able to do it and loves to do it as well.
Was she still enjoying the job?
She, I don't know if she was enjoying it. I think she definitely was like going after it. Like she wanted to go after it. She didn't want to just be in the job just to be in the job and just, get put in a position because she's either a female or something like that. Like she would go after it. So she would get her collars, get her, I don't know. She makes fun of her name. Her name is Kimberly. So her squad used to call her Kilo Kim. Cause she got like, and she would brag about it when she comes home. Cause I'm here coming home from Suffolk, I come home, I'm like, oh yeah, I went to a couple AIDA calls or this or that. She come home and she's like, oh yeah, we got an AK-47 from the car.
AK-47?
And we got—
She really got an AK-47?
I don't know if she got that collar, but there was a call or a car that they stopped and they pulled out an AK-47 or something from the back of the trunk. And then I know she got the collar for like the Kilo, which then they started calling her Kilo Kim.
But her, that's good. That's good. But her and her team recovered an AK-47.
Yeah. Yep. So, and that's just touching the surface of what they've done.
You gotta get her on the podcast.
I'm not fun.
Come on down here.
I don't have the fun stories. I'm just like, I'm still, but she has the good stories.
Well, I'm sure you do. I mean, within 9 years of being in Suffolk PD, has there been anything that you've seen that shooken you up, or anything that?
There's definitely things that, and I think when you come from when you're in the department and you are a law enforcement officer, you kind of just bury it to keep on going, because the way that we're built is like we go from call to call to call to call. So, you definitely see things, DOAs, suicides, with kids, traumatic things, so it's definitely things that we see on a daily basis where I'm already ingrained to, if I see something, I just have to make sure I handle it the right way. And then once I'm done with that, let's move on to the next call.
Is there anything that jumps out in particular, like any one call that's really profound that comes to mind?
I mean, the funny one, just a funny one, nothing that impactful to me, but there was one particular call where I was not into real estate at all. I wasn't, not, saying like, oh, I wanted to be a landlord or anything like that. I didn't even know about real estate, and nothing negative. It was just, I went to this call and it was kind of like a landlord tenant, dispute, where I saw like furniture hanging out the window, crazy things. I'm trying to, prevent people from arguing, fighting and everything like that. And at that moment, I told myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to become a landlord. And then come to find out years later, like I'm here, a landlord, owning properties and everything like that. But that's something that comes to mind that, that relates to like real estate. I always said, I was like, oh yeah, I'm never going to become a landlord. And now I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm a landlord.
Yeah. I feel like people like to share their W's, their wins. What are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the L's that you've taken?
Some of the losses that I've taken, not related to the job, but I would say related more towards family, is missing out a lot.
Well, I'm speaking more so in regards to real estate.
Real estate.
Touch on that too, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Touch on both actually.
Yes. So, in once you're in the job, and anybody that's in it knows that when you're working, you're working and you could get stuck. But not only that, holidays come up. You got to work. So birthdays come up. You can't take off or you have to miss it or something like that. Like, things happen where you miss out on a lot. And I feel like that's something that was important, huge for me growing up, where we would always get together for either Christmas or Thanksgiving, and we would, get together as a family. And those things are the things that I missed out a lot on because of the job. And I know that happens a lot in the NYPD, where once you're working, you're stuck working and you can't take off. It's a little bit different in Suffolk, but the same time, things happen where you can't take off, you get stuck or something like that. So those are the things like family related. And then in real estate as well, I mentioned before I was talking that one of my very, very first deals that I was able to successfully get under contract or have the seller agree to do seller finance, that deal I wasn't able to get because someone that I thought that I trusted, someone that I knew, went behind my back and took that deal from me.
How did they do that?
So I was cold calling a lot, cold calling, negotiating. I got the seller to agree to seller finance and we got it under contract. I didn't have the money to close on that deal. So now my job was to look for private money or private capital to either partner with me or wholesale it. But I wanted to raise the capital because it was a great deal. It was like a 5-unit property, and it was like a 5% interest rate when interest rates at the time were like at 8-9% with a DSCR loan. I got it under contract. It was an amazing deal. I presented it to people that expressed to me that they were interested in partnering with me. So we actually went over there, we walked the property together, and I introduced them to the actual seller. They were there too. Introduced them. These are my partners. We get back, and the next few days or weeks, we start talking about, how I want to partner with them, and they're going to bring in the capital. They didn't want to do it that way. They had a completely different version of what what I introduced them to. So they said, listen, what we could offer is this, and they're going to give me like a 5% of the deal when you put in all that hard work to get it under contract, to, to find the deal, to agree to owner finance and everything like that. And these are people that that were my teachers pretty much. Like,
really?
So
this isn't somebody that you found as a result of you saying, all right, I need a partner, or I need somebody that could raise capital with me.
These were trustworthy people that were like there for me from the beginning.
And these are people that are associated with the Long Island Real Estate Investors Association?
I don't know if they're still associated with them, but
that's where you initially met them.
So the people that taught me. So that's
that's why I hate real estate, bro. I mean, listen, you can make money in it, and props to my boy Ilya. I always shout him out. Props. He is the only one that I've dealt with as a mentor in real estate that has been tried and true to his word, that has helped me make some real money and taught me how to do it so that I could do it on my own. Yes. Not that I had to always hold his hand.
Yes.
He's a great resource. Bro, you need to work with him. You need to work with him.
Yeah.
The Investor Cop, I think you probably seen me talk about it before.
Yes.
100% legit.
Oh, yeah.
And he has a great heart to the point where sometimes he gets taken advantage of by people that he's teaching, once they come up and then they forget that how much he's done for him. And it's rare. Mm-hmm. You and I know how rare it is to find people like that in this business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So that's what happened, where I had it under contract. I thought that we were going to do it a certain way, a certain percentage that, kept me in the deal, and I was happy about it. They had other plans, and
were these the people running the RIA? I'm sorry. Were these the people running the RIA?
I don't know if they still are or not.
Listen, bro, these people ripped you off. Yeah. You can say it. Well, these are the people that were running the RIA.
they were
because there's
they were-
other
they were
people that
teaching-
might be interested in this
Yeah.
that need to be saved.
No, it's true. It's true. They were teaching it. They were
in the Long Island Real Estate
Yeah.
Investors Association, and
Yeah.
they were teaching people
They were
how to
teaching.
go about investing.
Yes.
What happens is a lot of these people, they go and they teach you, and they have these organizations. And the reason why they have these organizations is so that they could build you up and say, this is what you look for. This is how you go about doing it. And then you go out and do it under them, and then they snatch it right from under you. So they're just teaching you how to do things and get you so that you could be a part of their system, and then you could feed them the deals.
Yeah.
All it takes is just one deal. Like, they could invest all that time with you, and all it takes is just one deal for them to get that investment back.
So I get it on the contract. We walk the property with the owner there, so they know the owner now, and we can't come to an agreement for them bringing in the capital and me managing the whole thing. So I fall out of contract with the original seller, and then they reach out to the seller directly and do the deal. And now I think they still own that property to this day, but it was a 5-unit property that would have been my first deal. And I know for a fact that would have been, because 5 units, what if you're not into real estate, single family and 2 to 4 units are like the residential and like the small time investment. Once you get to 5 unit and up, it's commercial.
Yeah.
So now the value of your property is based on the property's productivity. So if it produces a certain amount of money, even if it's a horrible 5 unit, it's all about how much that property produces to be able to find the value of that property. So that property could have been something that I could have made a lot of money with that 5 unit
It's
because
okay.
it was a
It's okay. Those people, they're going to get theirs. That's what I say about the people I work with. Long Island real estate investors, bro, if you can find somebody that is good-hearted and genuinely wants to teach you without getting over on you, then you have a rare bird. Long Island RIA, I guess your name still rings true to being scam artists. He's being nice about it.
I'm being nice about it. I no longer have any association with Long Island RIA.
Everybody I know that has come through there, and I try to give them a fair chance when talking about this at first. But everybody I know that has rocked with them in some way, shape, or form has had an issue. So Long Island RIA, salute to you. You're trash.
Listen, it is what it is. I'm not part of that association. I'm not part of it at all. And listen, you try and get the right mentors, you try and pick the right people. And again, there's certain things that not everything is like, wrong. You can pick and choose what you want to take from there. Yeah. And what I picked and choose was what I learned, and I'm gonna use that information. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, I learned this information and I'm gonna just throw it to the trash. No, I'm gonna take this information, I'm gonna go and do my own thing because I paid money for this. So what I learned from there, I'm using it, and I'm learning more from other people now to, put that together and go out there and get mine.
Yeah, you found your tribe.
Exactly.
You found your tribe. That's great, man. So beautiful. So what's your ultimate goal?
Ultimate goal now is definitely being able to take this and not just like continue and building a massive portfolio and just saying like, oh yeah, look, I have a big portfolio, multiple houses, and I'm good, and my wife's good, and everything like that. I think right now what I'm focused on is continuing to build, but also show other people that are constantly reaching out to me, people from my job, people that I don't even know from other departments that are reaching out to me and my wife because she retired. So a lot of people look at what we're doing and they reach out to her because they know her from the job. A lot of it now is being able to take this information and pass it down to those other people that want to do the same thing, that want to be able to maybe retire their wives and learn about how to be able to go out there and get a real estate deal, how to be able to use the tax code and be able to, benefit that. Like when it comes to federal and state taxes, we as W-2 employees, we get taxed throughout the year. But when you do real estate, you're able to get a huge chunk of that back. So, but you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
If you don't do it the right way, then you're not going to be able to successfully get everything back. Yeah. So one of the things that we want to be able to share and show other guys to do is being able to learn how to get good deals, how to use that for tax benefits, how to be able to put that all together so you can either retire yourselves, retire your spouse, homeschool if you want to do homeschool, do bigger and better things, and ultimately is having that financial freedom for the future.
Yeah. And I want to double back on something I said before. Not everybody that wants to help is in it just to help themselves. Not everybody is there just to say, okay, yeah, well, I want to teach you so you can learn how to partner in deals with me as well. Obviously, if somebody is putting their time and investing their time in a person and they have expertise in a specific area, it would make sense for you to want to collab with them. Or that may be a part of the equation. But what I have an issue with is when those people are looking to collab and they want to cut you out.
Yep.
That's what I have a problem with.
Yep.
So just to clarify that.
Yeah, that was a personal experience that I had.
Yeah.
That was exactly
you and me both. But at least all it was for you was a learning lesson when you missed out on that deal, where for me, it was a loss of money, but it was still a learning lesson.
Yeah.
And then, me diving into my faith, a lot of great things happened afterwards.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. With you and your wife, when you were in the job, how did you maneuver your relationship? Her being a cop in the 4-4, you being in Suffolk County, how did that affect your relationship and time spent with one another?
It affected sometimes when she would get stuck and, we either had, we were going to plan on doing something at home or something like that. Definitely affects it a little bit. Or if I was at work and I get stuck at work. But we definitely try to take time out to either go on a date, do something positive, go out, take a vacation. We love going to Punta Cana to go on vacation. One of our favorite boutique hotels in the Poconos. We love going over there. So definitely we just try to make sure that we take some time apart to go out and do those things that you need when you're in a relationship. And then since Zachary's born, she was pregnant right around the time where we were in real estate, and we already had that mindset where she was gonna leave. I wanted her to leave. And then once she gave birth, that's it. She never went back. So she took her her maternity leave, and she was gone. Never came back. Never came back.
Wow. I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to connect with you too. Just because she had that confidence and you had that confidence in her leaving the job. That could have been another pension.
That could have been another pension.
Could have been another salary.
That could have been, and she would have been at top pay.
And she would have been at top pay
over there. So that's something that I didn't even think twice about. I was like, I want this 100% for her, because it's different when you're in the job and you're dealing with all the stuff that you're dealing with at home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not at home, at work.
Yep.
And then you come home and you're trying to, erase that, and you can't sometimes. You can't erase that. You have, you got to be able to vent, you got to be able to, all those things. Yeah. So, it was definitely something that I wanted to do 100% for her, especially being that she is in a very dangerous environment. And that's one thing that I wouldn't be able to even think about, is if I were to let her continue and then something bad were to happen, and then our kid is now without a mother.
And how old was she when she was able to retire, or when you retired her? You retired You both retired.
Yeah.
I'll say it like that.
So that was 2023 when Zachary was born, and then 2024 she officially retired. So she's 30 now. So 28, I would say
And
28,
how old are you?
27. I'm 32.
That's amazing.
32.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You talk about God a lot.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
How much has that played a role in your life, in what it is that you're doing now? Your career, your life, your business.
It's the number one priority, number one thing that we do. And it's funny because we were going through the process of getting married through the church and everything like that, doing Bible study. Even right now, we're still learning, but every day we try and make sure that we dedicate time to praying, to studying, and to learning, because it's something that has definitely not only helped us in the things that we're doing in real estate, but also helped us tremendously in our marriage and teaching us exactly what we need to do, what I need to do as a man, what she needs to do as a wife. Um, it helps us a lot to keep on moving forward and keep on working hard and keep on doing things for each other and always being there for each other. And honestly, if it wasn't for her, my wife Kim, to be so involved and so dedicated and passionate about learning these things and introducing me to that, I don't know if I would have been in the same position now than if I didn't met her.
So
Because
she introduced you to real estate investing?
not real estate investing, but studying about God, learning about God, doing Bible study and things like
Really?
that. Yes, because I went to Sunday church when I was younger, but then I stopped doing that. Like I kind of like slowed down. I got baptized, but then I slowly stopped going to Sunday church, and there was a huge period in my life, where I wasn't making it a priority, where God was the number one priority. And now looking back at it, I'm so grateful that she has been so, dedicated to make that a priority and to, helping me learn about it and helping me focus on that and introducing that into our life, and now us passing it down to our son.
What differences would you say that you see from you being anchored in God now and you not being anchored in him before? What?
Life choices, like decision making. Like, for example, I truly don't have a desire of, going out and, just hanging out and doing, either drinking, having a drink here or there, anything like that. Like, I truly want to be able to focus on my family, focus on her, focus on, raising Zachary, making sure that our life is, you know, the number one thing. And with God leading us, that's something that I feel like has transitioned, because before it was mostly like, I didn't have kids, so we were on the job, we're it's day 5, we all go out after or whatever like that, and you put more priority into that, and it's just things that at the end of the day it isn't good for your body and isn't good for, isn't positive to
The distraction.
yeah, the distraction. So that's something that I truly am grateful for, that it allowed me to, one, allow myself to learn that those things are not
It
important.
don't matter.
My family is important, my kids are important, and then building this for my future and for my kids' future is important.
Beautifully said. Have you ever gotten any pushback from coworkers or bosses for what it is that you do outside of work for your business?
No, no pushback yet. I don't think there hasn't been any pushback. And like I was saying earlier, there was actually a boss, like a white shirt. So, it was a lieutenant, but anything above lieutenant, they wear white shirts. But there was actually a lieutenant that like I was in the hallway and he just happened to walk by and he was like, "Oh, you're doing the real estate stuff, right?" So we had a positive conversation and hopefully maybe we could stay connected. So maybe if it's something that he wants to do in the future, he can learn how to do it and I can help him out doing it. So nothing negative to that effect, but positive stuff.
Okay. You don't have other coworkers that are like, "Hey, teach me about real estate," or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So now that we've been able to, post a lot of stuff on social media, share what we're going through, a lot of people are reaching out, even people that are outside of the department. They're reaching out, saying, "Hey, how can we do this? Are you doing anything to teach anybody?" And that's something that I was really thinking about these past few months. And now I'm actually working with a lot of good people now to put something together to be able to give to first responders or to any W-2 workers that want to learn about investing in real estate.
Okay, yeah. What are you working on?
So right now I'm planning on doing like a live, it's free, live Zoom and it's not like, invasive or anything like that. I'm not gonna turn on the camera or anything like that. Or you guys don't have to, anybody that joins in doesn't have to turn on the camera. It's just a monthly Zoom, free Zoom for anybody that wants to join in, whether they're first responders, W-2 workers, or, anybody that just wants to learn about real estate. And I'm going to have an expert, whether it comes from like the sub-2 community or other people. I actually spoke to Malcolm.
Okay.
I spoke to Malcolm and I was like, listen, let's get together. Maybe we could brainstorm on something. So I wanted to bring experts that are in the real estate world to just share their knowledge and experience to these guys that are first responders, W-2 workers on a monthly basis. So if anyone's interested and wants to join the monthly Zoom, they could definitely reach out and just join. And it's completely for free. So there's nothing, if you want to take the information and do it, that's fine. But that's what I want to do, kind of like something small, so I can be able to give back to these guys that are reaching out and saying, "Listen, how can I do this? How can I do that?"
Do you have a book that you recommend? A lot of real estate guys are really into books. Malcolm hooks me up with books every time he sees me.
Yeah. I think a lot of people know like the Rich Dad Poor Dad book.
Yeah.
That book right there, it's funny enough because I listened to a lot of what Robert Kiyosaki says, but that wasn't the first book that I read in his series. So I got to that book, but my number one book and it was funny because I listened to audiobooks because when I was driving from Westchester to Long Island, it would be, a long ride. So I would listen to audiobooks. That the book that actually kind of like flipped the switch on me and I was like, this is what I'm going to do, was from Ken McLemore, and his book was the ABCs of
real
estate investing.
Yeah.
And he has other ones. He has of rental properties and he has of property management. Read all those ABC books or listen to it on audiobook or anything like that. And those books right there was really what pushed me over the edge to get into real estate. And I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, but it's all in that same series of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Those are good.
And the other one was the advanced strategies of real estate, the advanced tax strategies of real estate investing. And it's part of that Rich Dad Poor Dad series. That right there, those books were the books that like, I was like, there's nothing else that I want to do but real estate.
That's great.
Those books right there. Yep.
Okay. Telling you, go for no, especially if
you're
you're still doing cold calling. Is that your main way of?
The number one way that I get deals right now is me putting in the work. Right now, I stopped doing, I still encourage people to, if they want a free way of getting deals, is going on Zillow and getting deals that are over 90 days or over 100 days. Calling those deals and seeing what you can get, seeing if they can find motivation and then use that motivation to give them an offer. But what I'm doing now is pay per click. So I'm, paying for leads. There's companies out there. There's thousands of companies out there that they go out, they market, they look for people that want to sell their house. They have motivation, and I pay for those leads. And then I call those people and I try to get them under contract.
What company do you use?
I Speed to Lead.
I Speed to Lead.
I Speed to Lead.
You should
right
give
now.
him a shout out. So
I Speed to Lead. Ashley from the Sub 2 Northeast community. She was the one that put me onto them, and literally they've been great. They always have deals, even out here, anywhere in your area. They definitely should have deals, and you either sign up for their monthly payment subscription where you can get deals at a discount, or you could just buy them straight out how they are, and then make some calls.
Yeah, I use them too.
You use iSpeed to Lead?
I've used iSpeed.
Yeah. iSpeed to Lead is good. There's other companies as well, like Motivated Seller, other companies. There's many out there that do the exact same thing. Find the right one that's in your market and go from there. And
I want to say I might have had a land deal with iSpeed, or I was close to having a deal with iSpeed, but they were good. They were good. A lot of my deals, cold calling. My biggest deal with Ilya and I, we made $75,000. Yeah, $75,000 was from a cold call.
Wow.
Yeah. And she just happened to pick up the phone that day. She said, usually I don't pick up my phone from unknown numbers. She picked up fire damage property.
Oh, man.
Already got the money from the insurance. It was like,
yep.
Why not make a little bit more? And we had a guy that tried to circumvent us. We already had things in the works. He built up a great rapport with us. Nice. So she didn't deal with the guy. It was one guy that wanted us to sell it to him for a cheaper amount than what we were asking for. And he wasn't happy with it. He didn't think that we were going to be able to get it. We doubled it.
Nice.
Yeah. So
nice.
It's cutthroat. It's really cutthroat.
No, it is. It is.
It's a cutthroat game. Anybody that wants to get into real estate understand up front that it takes a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work is going to take. Oh, yeah. I had asked you that question. I said, how do you feel like receiving those no's have helped you in life? Because I could tell you how it has with me, but
it's definitely changed a lot, because my perspective probably back then was that if I get told no, then this is probably not going to work.
Yeah.
And now being in the business, getting told a lot of no's, then getting some success, and then being able to also transition that success to raising capital, which is also another avenue as well, that has completely changed my life, because now even though I get told no, I literally just put that in the back of my head and keep on moving forward. And it's like, it's not going to stop me. It's not going to, discourage me. I'm going to keep on going until I get exactly what I'm looking for.
That's great. I feel like me, with hearing no so many times, I used to take it personal. I used to be, no, for real. I used to take it personal, like, oh, this person doesn't like me. Maybe I don't sound good. Maybe I don't sound professional enough. Or maybe I got to change up my voice, whatever the case may be. But what I've come to realize is that it's not anything personal. And I've carried that over into a lot of my life now, especially social media. Social media is worse because you have people that can type out comments and say things in response and badger you and say all these negative things. But I already built up such thick skin to being rejected and to being told no or to being cursed at, that it doesn't do anything. Like I understand what's at the other side of those no's. I understand what's at the other side of those rejections. And usually all it is just, it's exercise. It's resistance. You go to the gym and you lift weights. It's resistance, but you get stronger. Those no's are the weights. Those insults are the weights. The rejection, the weights to build the muscle to push through and get to the goal that you're looking for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What does purpose over pension mean to you?
I think purpose over pension, I think it means that there is there's something more out there than just the security. There's something more out there than just being okay with what they give you. You can definitely achieve that. You can definitely be able to get to that point. And the only way you're going to be able to do it and get there is with that purpose. If you don't have, that purpose or that why reason why you want to get to that point, then you're not going to be able to push through those no's. You're not going to be able to push through the hurdles. You're not going to be able to push through that to get there. But definitely, if you are able to get there and you are able to push through that, you'll see at the other side of it that it was well worth it, and it is way more bigger and way more impactful and way more satisfying than just a pension.
I like it. I like it. Thank you so much, Joelvi.
Absolutely.
Where can people find you?
If you guys want to reach out, social media, Instagram, Cops to Cash Flow, or go to our website, Cops to Cash Flow. Send me a message, send me a DM. And if you guys want to join in on the free Zooms, just reach out. Reach out to Cops to Cash Flow on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm Joelvi de la Cruz. So reach out and I'll get you guys all in, and hopefully we can all learn together and do some real estate.
Love it. Love it. One more thing I want to ask you. Do you feel like real estate is the best way to build wealth?
Oh my God. I'm glad you asked me that. I'm glad you asked me that, because I honestly don't think that there is any other vehicle out there that can do these things that I'm about to say. And you could listen, if you do know of an investment vehicle out there that can do these things, please let me know. If you buy a property, you can get monthly cash flow. So that's number one. So that's a dividend in your return after you pay off all your expenses, cash flow that you put in your pocket. Every single year, that property may go up a little bit, may come down, but usually it goes up a little bit, maybe 1%, 2%, 3%. Every single month, a tenant, not you, every single month, a tenant will pay down that debt, that mortgage, whatever it is, whether it's from a bank or whether it's from a seller, that mortgage. Every single month, that tenant's going to pay down that mortgage. You can use that investment vehicle to literally, and I have firsthand knowledge of this, you can literally wipe out 90, or you can get back a refund from the IRS, 90 to 100% of all your federal and state taxes back if you do it the right way. And you can leverage that investment vehicle by borrowing from that equity that you built up. You can borrow it from in the form of a HELOC, or you can borrow from it in a form of a private money lender lending you that money so you can go ahead and use that to do something else or fix up the house, whatever it is. So there is no other investment vehicle that I personally know. Please let me know if there's something out there that can give you money monthly, today money. So that means that you can use that money today, not in 20, 30 years from now. It's going to go up in value. The tenant who's living in there is going to pay down the debt, is going to give you 90 to 100% back of your federal and state income taxes that you paid throughout the year back in your pocket, and that you can borrow against it an unlimited amount, because I think like defer comp and other investment vehicles, you may be able to borrow up to like $50,000. Mm-hmm. But what if you have like $1 million in that investment account?
Yeah.
You can only borrow $50,000. This, if you have equity up to 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, you can borrow that equity as long as you do it the right way. You either get it in the form of a HELOC, or a private money lender lends you that money and you structure it the right way. You get a promissory note, mortgage deed, personal guarantee, cross collateral. You do the right things. You make sure you do it right. There is nothing out there that can do all of those things that I just mentioned. So
that's great. Why do you think, or do you think that You said that you think real estate investing is the best investment that people can go with. Why do you think it might be the best investment for police officers to go with?
I think it might be one.
So let me go back. With the limited time that police officers have, what do you feel like the best strategy for investing and making money is in real estate?
In real estate, me personally, because I'm actively still working, actively still, handling calls or, getting stuck on overtime, and also making sure that I spend time with my family, 100% long-term tenants being in there, whether it's a 12-month lease or you can do a 24-month lease, long-term tenants, and it could be anything. It could be a single-family house or 2 to 4. Long-term tenants, a rental property like that would be a great, starting point for law enforcement, because it allows you to put, and you have to be good at what you do. You got to be able to vet a tenant very, very well, background check, credit check, calling the prior 2 landlords, calling their work, getting work references, getting other references. So making sure that you can get a good tenant in there and get a long-term lease, 12 or 24 months, set it, and make sure that the house is good too, because things are going to happen. Yes, there might be, something that may fall, break, this, that, or third, but prior to you putting the tenant in there, making sure that you get your guys in there, handyman contractors, to make sure that the pipes, the furnace, everything is working when you put a tenant in. That is truly the best case scenario for someone that's in law enforcement, because they put a tenant in there. They know the house is good. They don't have to worry about much. All the snow removal, all the water bill or the electricity bill, if it's a single family, goes to the tenant. You don't have to take care of that responsibility. You make sure you underwrite the right way. You make sure you can pay the taxes, insurance, CapEx, maintenance, vacancy, and management. You get money to the side for the what ifs, and there's still money left over to put in your pocket. That right there is an ideal scenario for first responder.
Nice. Love it.
And the only way you can get to that point is if you learn it the right way, and you learn it from somebody that is either, that has done it before, has the experience, and that you can trust. So,
boom. There it is. Thank you so much, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. You're the man.
All right.
Thank you.